What's up, everybody? Tonight we're going to talk about Erickson Lubin versus Vergil Ortiz and more when we come right back. Welcome to another episode of Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. I am Bean. And tonight, break down some analytics and boxing. Erickson Lubin, y'all. Let's talk about old Erickson Lubin. Because I actually like this guy. Erickson Lubin out of Orlando, Florida. Now, coming into that fight this weekend, prior to the fight, it looked like Erickson Lubin was fully laser focused on the training and the mentality. I thought we were going to see the Erickson Lubin that we saw, even if you fall short like he did against Sebastian Fundora. I thought we were going to see that version of a Erickson Lubin that was just willing to, hey, take some and give some. Last night we didn't see that out of Erickson Lubin. And Erickson Lubin, as we know, was only knocked out and stopped twice. He was knocked out by Charlo, and he was stopped by Sebastian Fundora. Now, well, a third time now from this weekend he was stopped. So we have Erickson Lubin stopped 3 times in his career, but to be fair, all by top level opponents. But last night I definitely felt we were going to see Erickson Lubin have a better account of himself. He was doing everything the opposite of what you should do. You know what I'm saying? He's a southpaw fighter. I thought being a southpaw, he was going to use his southpaw, the fact that he's left-handed, to his advantage. That he's going to be, maneuvering around to make it harder for Vergil Ortiz to land that straight right hand. And another thing was, he kept going back up against the ropes. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all from Erickson Lubin. I felt like he should have been, once his back touched the ropes for a few seconds, he needs to spin back out. Why are you staying with your back against the ropes knowing that you're fighting a boxer who has a lot of power? A boxer who's going to go to the body, he's going to go downstairs, he's going to go upstairs and all that. And eventually, he's going to clip you, which that's what we saw in round 2. I just don't understand it. But again, shout outs to Erickson Lubin. You've been good for the sport of boxing, man. Where does it go from here? Let me know what y'all think in the chat room. What does the future hold for Mr. Erickson Lubin? Hey, he did his thing at 154, and he had a good run. So let me know what y'all think he's going to do next. Now, speaking of his opponent, Vergil Ortiz. He's a mean, lean fighting machine. And he showed out down there in Texas last night. Vergil Ortiz did what was expected for him to do. He showed up and showed out last night, right? Now, in the scheme of all that, we got Boots Ennis from the East Coast here in Philly, on the East Coast here in America. And he was at the fight. He was at that function. And after the fight, Boots Ennis, as y'all saw, he stepped in the ring. And that's what I was hoping he was going to do. Hey, step in the ring, get face-to-face with Vergil Ortiz, and let us as fans know, and let Vergil and Oscar De La Hoya and their camp know, hey, me and Eddie Hearn, we want that fight. We want Vergil Ortiz And as he said prior to that fight on his last win over Lima, Boots was calling out names. He was calling out everybody. He said, hey, I'm here at 154, y'all. Hey, we're going to get it in motion. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get it in motion. So let me know what y'all think about Boots Ennis. Now that he's at 154, is he the goods? He passes the eye test. There's still questions on him stepping up to certain levels. Even Erickson Lubin, before the fight with Vergil Ortiz, in his interview, he was saying with Brian Custer, hey, man, I believe Boots Ennis is a very talented fighter. However, I need to see him fight a certain level of opposition. So, I mean, not only did Erickson Lubin say that, but just boxing purists and boxing casuals and just people are all saying that hey, Boots, he passes the eye test. He's a special talent. We just want to see him step up and fight these bigger names. So now, Vergil Ortiz. Now, in the mix of all this, just how boxing is, we know that the focus is not Erickson Lubin, but Vergil Ortiz and Boots Ennis, right? So now these two are supposed to be fighting. But at the fight was also Jermell Charlo. And Jermell Charlo claims he wants to smoke with Boots Ennis as well. So, I mean, the way I see it, hey, Boots Ennis, go ahead and fight Vergil Ortiz. And go ahead and line them on up, like you know, make your little list, your little hit list or whatever. Vergil Ortiz, Jermell Charlo, and whoever else at 154 who wants to smoke, hey, tell them to bring it. You know, tell them to bring it. You know what I'm saying? I think boxing is going to be looking very, very good as this year comes to an end in 2025. And in the beginning of 2026, we are going to see a lot of these fights that we have been wanting to see. Man, I like it. I like what we're seeing right now in boxing. I'm not going to be the type of person to constantly throw my hands up in the air and act like I'm feeling defeated. Like, oh man, this person don't fight this person and this, that. Nah. As in the words of Cam J, and shout outs to my guy Matt over in Brooklyn, New York, Big Matthew Brown. As y'all would say, let's be happy and let's be content on the fights that are actually being made versus complaining about the fights that are not happening. You know, we got more fights coming on next weekend with the rematch over in UK with Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn and Chris Eubanks Jr. So boxing to me is in a good place right now. You got so many different scenarios, so many different things happening. To me, if you ask me in my opinion, man, boxing is definitely on a come up. And if you're in the chat, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you tell a friend or three to to hit like and subscribe. Because like I say, if you subscribe, it's free and you're showing support to Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. We also have a donation area in the description area if you want to donate and support Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. I appreciate everything that everybody's doing. And big shout outs to Tiger Johnson out of Cleveland, Ohio. You know, Ohio in the house. We got a lot of good talent in Ohio, so Tiger Johnson keep holding it down. Up north, Cleveland, Abdullah Mason. He'll be fighting soon on Riyadh card versus Sam Noakes. So shout outs to Abdullah Mason out of Ohio. All the different pioneers, you know, especially down here in Cincinnati where I'm from. It's a heavy boxing city. So from Cincinnati to Cleveland to Toledo, Dayton, Zanesville, all that. Ohio has a lot of talent. So shout outs to my guy, Ohio Runs Boxing, Marcus out of Youngstown, who highlights a lot of the talent here in the state of Ohio. Hey, shout out Jack. Yeah, I just seen your messenger, bro. I'm live, man. So if you want to jump in the chat, brother, jump on in, mate. Um, so man, like I said, man, boxing is in a good place. So let's talk about the Erickson Lubin fight and Vergil Ortiz. Round one, pretty much both guys are filling each other out. The Erickson Lubin, what I noticed was he was tapping Vergil Ortiz to the body. He was throwing that jab to the body. So I like what I was seeing from Erickson Lubin, but he just wasn't doing it enough in my eyes. You know, he was landing to the body of his opponent, but he wasn't doing it enough. And like I said, his issue was he kept stepping back and going against the ropes. And you can't do that when you're fighting a puncher who can really, really punch. That kind of almost happened with Shakur Stevenson when he was fighting the guy that had him against the ropes. I want to say he was a Latin fighter. William Zepeda. When he had Shakur against the ropes, there were times where Shakur put himself in a bad position. Can't stay on the ropes like that. That's a no-no. You know, I get it. Back in the day, Ali did the rope-a-dope. That was very different, something that boxing had never seen. But that's a once-in-a-lifetime situation. Nobody can really do the rope-a-dope ever again because people will have more of an understanding on how to get to you when you do that now. Ali did that once in a lifetime situation. I would not recommend anyone trying to rope a dope in 2025. So in round two, as we saw, Erickson Lubin, I don't know what his corner told him, but he kept going back up against that ropes. And as a consequence to his actions, he was discombobulated by a temple shot. Maybe even two. Two clean shots right in this area over here. And his legs turned into jelly. And he was there for the taking. And it wasn't looking good. And the ref had to step in. So, hey, that's what happened, you know. That's how it goes sometimes. So hopefully other boxers take note of what happened in the case of Erickson Lubin, and they don't do some of the same mental mistakes or anything crazy like he did. All right, y'all. Let's also talk about Boots Ennis versus Vergil Ortiz, because now that's supposed to be the fight that's going to happen. So I want to know y'all's y'all predictions, or what do you make of Boots Ennis versus Vergil Ortiz? Hey, I want to know y'all predictions. You know, a lot of people say Vergil should beat Boots Ennis pretty easily, but then you have a lot of people saying that Boots should beat Vergil pretty easily. So you have, you know, I would say it's like 50-50 from what I'm seeing on social media. Half of the people are saying Boots is going to win fairly easily, but half of the people are saying Vergil will win pretty easily. Now, I thought Erickson Lubin versus Ortiz was going to be a 50-50 fight, but it wasn't a 50-50 fight, or it wasn't a 50-50 outcome. It was more like like 90-10, if even that. Like pretty much Vergil Ortiz dominated Erickson Lubin for the short 2 rounds that we were able to witness. Now, I don't foresee Vergil Ortiz doing Boots Ennis in the same way he did Erickson Lubin. But I would like to know y'all's opinion in the chats. Also, like I say, it seems like Boots is that guy that's everybody wants now. Like he's that man. So now Charlo's calling him out. So now Jermell Charlo wants to smoke with Boots Ennis. Man, he has options, man. He has options. But I say go ahead and fight Vergil Ortiz first and let Charlo be there. Charlo's gonna still be there in 2026 or maybe even 2027. But go ahead and fight Vergil Ortiz. Try to get that wind up under you, and then hopefully these folks starts to put respect on your name, Boots Ennis. Put some respect on your name, sir. And that's what it is, right? All right, so in other boxing news, I was happy to see. So shout outs to Cam J for letting us know it was pretty much official that the Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson fight will come to fruition. Did y'all catch that? Do I need to repeat myself? I said Teofimo Lopez will be fighting Shakur Stevenson. The showman himself, Teofimo Lopez. Yes, sir, JC. Yes, sir. And that's an interesting style matchup, man. Now it just all depends on Teofimo, because we know Shakur, he pretty much fights the same every fight. He's very talented. He's very skilled. He has good footwork. He has decent hand speed. He's defensively sound. So we know what we kind of expect to see when we see Shakur Stevenson. But when it comes to Teofimo Lopez, it's like you don't know what you're going to get with this guy. He could look good like he did against Lomachenko, but then again, he could look not so good. You know what I'm saying? Like he's very inconsistent. Like some fights, he's really, really at the top level of his pedigree. And other fights, he's just like, man, is this the same guy we just saw fight the last fight? Like when we saw him fight in New York on the Turkey Al Sheikh card up in New York at Times Square, he fought a good performance. You know what I mean? It was like he made a good account of himself. A lot of people gave him his credit. I feel like he has all the tools to beat Shakur Stevenson. And this is not me saying Shakur Stevenson is not nice. I mean, I believe he's a talented young fighter. So I give him all his praise and credit. But I feel like Teofimo Lopez has the type of style that he could potentially beat Shakur Stevenson. Now, I want to know what y'all feel. Do y'all feel that Teofimo Lopez will beat Shakur Stevenson or vice versa? Do you feel Shakur Stevenson will beat Teofimo Lopez? And also weigh in and let me know why you are going with who you pick. Let me know what Teofimo brings to the table. Let me know what Shakur Stevenson brings to the table. All right. Also in boxing news, aka Debo Devin Haney versus B Norm Jr. They had their face off. It was a good face off. I believe it's on DAZN, y'all, on YouTube, if you want to see that face off. And pretty much, at first, it starts off kind of like, you know, they throwing like verbal jabs at each other. Well, Devin Haney is saying, he's saying that, look, say I'm Devin Haney, and over here is B Norm. I never heard of this guy. I just heard of this guy maybe 2 years ago. Who has he fought? He ain't fought nobody. He just fought Jin Jasaki, I believe you pronounce his name. the Asian fighter in Japan, I believe. And he was like, he fought a few other opponents that I genuinely don't even know. These are the words of Devin Haney. I'm somewhat paraphrasing, but he's pretty much just talking to he's talking to B. Norman Jr. like he's a nobody in boxing. And he was like, I'm going to show him his levels to boxing. I'm going to show him why I am who I am. I'm going to show him that I fought top level opposition when he's fighting tomato cans. And he pretty much in the end said, hey, Brian Norman Jr., you're a bum. I'm like, oh, okay, you feel like that? You calling that man a bum? I don't think anybody but Brian Norman, he didn't take too kind of that, being called a bum. So he has a point to prove. He has pressure on him to an extent. But like he said, he's not tripping on the big lights. He's not tripping on that. He said he's been under the bright lights before and that he will be victorious against Devin Haney. So that's another good style matchup. A boxer against a puncher. And don't get it twisted, man. As Brian Norman Jr. said, I have more skills than I'm getting credit for. People just look at me like I'm this knockout puncher with a good left hand, a good left hook or whatever. He said he brings more to the table than he's getting credit for. So I want to know what y'all think in the chat. And right now, if you're not tuning in, if you catch me tomorrow, because I know we're on different time schedules, like some people on the West Coast, you're like 2 hours ahead. And if you're in the UK, you're 5 hours above us or whatever. Yeah, ahead of us. So y'all might run it back tomorrow or this week. But just make sure you hit the thumbs up button. And let me know what y'all feel about these different topics in boxing. All right, so I see on social media trending pretty heavy. A lot of folks feel that David Benavidez will walk through Anthony Yarde. If that happens, if he walks through him, I could see it being more of a situation to where Anthony Yarde is getting fatigue down the stretch, mid rounds, championship rounds, things like that, hey, he may get a little fatigue, and then it'll be time for David Benavidez to do what David Benavidez does. You know, David Benavidez has an engine on him. He's shown it time and time again. So I think the worst thing you could do against David Benavidez is start to show signs of fatigue. If you show signs of fatigue, he will see that as a weakness and he will pounce all over you. So that to me would be the main thing, is that whatever preparation you're doing in training, Anthony Yarde, they must make sure that he's physically conditioned for the long haul, that he's physically conditioned for 12 rounds where he will not fatigue and gas out. Because if he does, it ain't going to be good, y'all. It is not going to be good. No, it ain't. So that's my take on that one. But you let me know y'all opinion in the chat. Now, I'm seeing news servicing with Ajit Kabiel, heavyweight boxing, y'all. Y'all know I love the heavyweights. KMJ got that impression of me when we first started talking about boxing. He knows I love the heavyweights. So here we go. Ajit Kabiel. He seems to be that dark horse of the heavyweight division. He seems to be that guy that they don't really talk about like that. But they're in the shadows of boxing awaits Ajit Kabiel. And his next opponent. Hey, what's up, Mike Ware? You already said for the first time he had a strength and conditioning coach the whole camp. Well, he's going to need that for sure. He's going to need everything and make sure his oxygen and make sure that he has a second wind because David Benavidez, he's going to be dangerous all 12 rounds. So to make it a very good fight and to make it a very high level competitive fight, it would behoove Anthony Yardy to have his gas tank at a peak level, because David Benavidez, as we know, he never's coming to lay down, and he puts a lot of pressure on you all night long. And speaking of that, what I was talking about earlier, Mike, where you were actually at that fight down in Texas, bro. How was that? How was that fight, man? I know the main event, it didn't live up to what we wanted, but you were there to bear witness the fights last night. I felt like the co-main event was better than the main event, but that's not me saying that the co-main event was all that. But to me, it was still better because it didn't end in 2 rounds. Now, Mike, where you said it's 2 pressure fighters going against each other, absolutely, and I'm here for it, man. I can't wait for that fight. That whole card gonna be nice because we're gonna have Anthony Yardy, David Benavidez, and then Cleveland, Ohio, where you from, Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes. That's gonna be a good fight. And we're gonna also have Devin Haney versus B Norm Jr. I mean, these are all going to be lit fights on a lit card. That card is going to definitely satisfy what I like to see in boxing. Now, back to Ajit Kabiel. Excuse me. Ajit Kabiel versus Damian Kimba? Kimba, I believe you pronounce it. And I saw Damian Kimba fight. His last fight, he fought the guy who made his name famous from allegedly knocking out Anthony Joshua in sparring years ago. The guy he was preparing for Andy Ruiz in sparring. Man, what's that guy's name? Damian just beat him. Oh man, I cannot think of. Do you remember his name, Mike Ware, by chance? The guy. Remember the guy who would never admit to knocking out Anthony Joshua in sparring, but the rumor was he possibly concussed AJ prior to the Andy Ruiz first fight. Oh man, he kind of has that Andy Ruiz build, but I can't think of his name right now. Yeah, I'm gonna find out his name. Joey DeWaco. Yeah, Joey DeWaco. He was the one that fought Damian Zimba. Well, that guy Damian Zimba is going to be fighting Ajit Kabiel. I think it'll be a decent fight as long as it lasts. But I feel like Ajit Kabiel, his level is up there with the top of the crop. He's up there with the Fabio Wardleys and the Joseph Parkers and the Alexander Usyks or whatever. I feel like this would be a pretty. It'll be like a fight to where he's gonna break down his opponent. I feel like Ajit Caballero is gonna break down Damian Kimba in those middle rounds and eventually stop him. And I believe that's scheduled for January the 10th, the beginning of 2026. Also, Xander Zayas versus Abbas Baru. Abbas Baru is, I believe he's from Africa, either Africa or the islands, maybe like Jamaican or Haiti. But Abbas Baru and Xander Zayas. Um, Abbas Baru, he definitely showed he was tough in the last fight that I saw him in. But I feel like Xander Zayas is gonna, I think he's gonna tear him up. You know what I'm saying? Xander Zayas is, he's a dangerous guy, man, and his body shots are wicked. I looked up some footage on him. Xander Zayas is going to be a problem for Abbas Baru. Um, but hey, if somehow Abbas Baru beats him, full credit to that man. Full credit if he can pull this one off. But I just felt like Xander Zayas, man, he looks very, very dangerous, and looks like he's always in shape. Um, all right, so Clarissa Shields, she has an $8 million deal with Win Records and Salida Promotions. Dimitri Salida, he did an interview and he claims Clarissa Shields will fight Shadeja Green and or Dazern in the near future. What do y'all feel about that? You know, like I say, shout outs to Clarissa Shields for doing her thing. $8 million 2 year deal. That's great because that's big money for women in boxing, because back in the day, women was they were never making that type of money in boxing. And I did speak to my guy out of New York, Sean. Shout out to Sean. Sean Blackwell was telling me how Don King, nobody really talks about it, but Don King was actually the one that put women's boxing on the map. Although Jake Paul has taken it to another level in this era right now with his Netflix and all that, the Alicia Baumgartner, Clarissa Shields, Katie Taylor, all these women boxing. Well, back in the day, Don King had Christy Martin out of West Virginia. She was also known as the coal miner's daughter. Well, Christy Martin, they just made a movie based on her life. I can't wait to see it. I think it just dropped. So be on the lookout for Christy Martin's biopic. Uh, it should be out now, I believe. But Christy Martin is pretty much the one that one of the first ones that really put the spotlight on women's boxing. And now today, in today's era, it's really starting to flourish. November 7th, the Christy Martin movie, it came out 2 days ago. So go ahead and check it on out. I might be watching it tonight myself. Um, so what y'all think though? Like Clarissa Shields fights Shadeja Green or Dazern. How would y'all? I mean, a lot of people feel like Clarissa's the best out here as far as the women boxing. So do y'all feel like Clarissa Shields would beat Shadeja Green easily? Would she beat Dazern easily? What's y'all opinion? What's y'all predictions? And I want to know your predictions on Jermell Charlo. Should he fight Boots Ennis in the future? Um, what do you think is going to happen if that fight happens? And then I think I seen something with Daniel Dubois. I don't know if it was like a purse bid situation, but Daniel Dubois to I think it was Daniel Dubois that he would be potentially fighting Frank Sanchez. That would be a good match. That would be a good style matchup. Now the question is Frank Sanchez healed? Is his knee healed up? You know, that's a main factor because he's known to be the Cuban Flash and he's known to be able to move around. That's how we saw him in one of his best performances when Frank Sanchez defeated um, the African fighter. The guy that kind of reminds you of Wilder. He has a lot of power in his like right hand. Um, he doesn't fight just like Wilder, but he kind of puts you in the in the mindset of Wilder. He's tall, slim built, um, and he just fought Martin Bacoli not too long ago. But the way we saw Frank Sanchez beat him, a healthy Frank Sanchez can be very, very dangerous. Now, Frank Sanchez did get stopped by Ajit Kabiel, but I don't think that was the best version of Frank Sanchez, to be fair, because he'd been having issues with his knee or something like that. So hopefully his knee has healed, and we get the fully healthy version of Frank Sanchez. That's his name, Efe Jagba. Efe Jagba, um, he was definitely outsmarted by Frank Sanchez. So if Frank Sanchez fights Dubois with that style, where he's being mobile, he's fully healthy, he can definitely defeat somebody like Daniel Dubois. He can definitely frustrate somebody like Daniel Dubois. But I want to know y'all opinion on that. And I also want to say shout outs to In Your Face Magazine, Trill, Kev McFly, and everybody on the committee with In Your Face Magazine. Um, Also, big shout outs to my guy at Ozzy's Catering, located here in Cincinnati, Ohio, USA. If you use Ozzy's Catering, please tell him Ring Walk Boxing Podcast sent you. Um, and we'll end it here. We'll end this. Our last topic for the night is going to be the Tank Davis and Jake Paul fight that slipped through the cracks. So I was all hype and I was all game to see that fight happen. I just chopped it up with my cousin here in Cincinnati not too long ago. So shout out to my cousin Will Thrill Frierson. We were talking about Tank Davis and just kind of like reading between the lines, or in the words of Cam J, read the room. In other words, well, that interview you kind of could see Jake Paul trying to stay in character, whereas Tank Davis wasn't feeling it. You can see the energy there. You can see the energy shift when they had their press conference, and you can see that Tank is not trying to be pulled into anything that he feels like is not going to be all the way authentic. So I think for whatever reasons there were, all this extra stuff came up with a alleged um, DV case for Tank Davis or whatever. It all happened right, all in the mix of this fight supposedly finna happen, and then this comes out of left field that he gets caught up in this situation, and then it turns out to be false or whatever. I just feel like it was really Tank Davis not going along with a certain narrative. I'll just use it if you read what I'm saying in code. He didn't want to go along with a certain narrative, so he just couldn't be bought. You know what I mean? So he just decided not to really want to take the fight if it wasn't a fight that he could actually do what he's known to do. And y'all know that man is known for knockouts. So we'll just leave it right there when it comes to that situation. Now, regarding Jake Paul, I don't know as of late who's going to be the replacement. You know what I'm saying? Because they had a whole card or whatever, a whole undercard. So hopefully they'll find a replacement for Jake Paul, and we'll still get to see a good undercard on that event. All right. And also, man, something that I peeped at that fight. You had a lot of people there that were other boxers, but what stood out to me was Errol Spence. Errol Spence was there at that fight, but of course he's from Texas, right? But it was cool to see him there in attendance and to see him taking flicks and doing interviews with people. He seems like he's just being Errol Spence, that laid back guy, but that down to earth guy. You know what I'm saying? Now I don't know as far as his future in boxing, and after the fact that he had those car wrecks and stuff, and then he had a real bad loss against Bud Crawford, where he was stopped. I don't know what the future holds, if he's going to still be boxing. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's done. He's had a pretty good career. He should just go ahead and train fighters, either train fighters, maybe start a podcast. He has a cool personality. He could do his own boxing podcast, or he could commentate on fights. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things in boxing you can do without actually being a boxer. You could be a trainer. You could be a commentator. You could start doing journalism. You know what I mean? It's a lot of things that are tied in the boxing without you actually having to be in the ring. Look at Roy Jones. He helps train fighters, but he also is a commentator. Lennox Lewis, for a good while, he was a commentator with the PBC. So you can still find your place amongst the boxing circle without actually being in the boxing ring, if that makes sense. But like I said, all that being said, man, I appreciate everybody who pulled up tonight here at Ringwalk Boxing Podcast. Make sure you check out the description area, because like I said, if you want to make a donation, it's there. If you want to get merch, the hats, the t-shirts, the hoodies, is there as well. And we'll be here next week at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. So make sure that you represent and show your support. And I will catch you on the next round. Peace.